Hey folks, welcome. I'm excited to get into it today. We have a key piece of the overall tool stack for living well as a PD athlete with high aspirations, which is a documented care plan, right? So this is about how to really empower you as the general manager of your PD team and get the best outcomes out of all the interactions that you have across this diverse group of people that's along your PD journey with you. So the messaging here around why this is important, why we're spending time talking about this, is really that you are the one constant across the entire care team and across your PD journey. A care plan is how you lead it. It's related to another concept that I've certainly experienced in my own PD journey, which is that there's a lot of resources out there to help you with your PD, and no one's coming to save you, right? No one else is going to put that together for you, or at least, I don't know, it's not super realistic to expect that anyone's going to have all the answers there. Of course, people can help you, but again, you're in the driver's seat. You're the one who's going to be the most empowered to actually bring those folks together to support the best outcomes, okay? So related to this idea, right, we're training like an athlete, not a patient. Elite athletes don't wing it, right? They keep goals, they track their journey and their metrics, they get coaching, and they log what they're doing along the way. Having this also supports your brand as well as the reality of being the general manager of your care team, right? You're not a passive participant in it. That absolutely affects how you're perceived and how you show up to these engagements that you have. It's also something that's in our control, right? So the documenting this and managing this part of it is a piece that we have agency over. There's a lot of things in life and with PD that we don't have control over. That is what it is. I would say that kind of sucks, but it is what it is. This is something that we can control, right? So this is an opportunity for you to have agency over an opportunity to optimize part of your journey. And also importantly, it protects your care partners and your family so that you're not either dumping all of that cognitive and executive burden on them. And also that the things aren't trapped in your head or someone else's. So if you need care or need help in a particular situation, they don't have to guess about where to go to get that. They have all that stuff readily available and documented so that they can do that. All right, so some specific ways that this pays off. So again, we're talking about an environment where we have potentially 6+ different care providers. You might have as little as 15 minutes per visit. This is really the one source of truth that cuts across all of them. So it gives you the ability to do that coordination, right? It's a shared source of truth across this care team that doesn't naturally talk to one another. You're going to get better visits, right? So you're going to be able to make better use of your time. You're not going to rehash stuff that you've already talked about elsewhere or someone could have read. You're going to spend time talking about the decisions or the key pieces that you're coming to that member of the care team about. It also helps to reduce errors, right? Rather than relying on memories, individual memories, or which are imperfect in the best of circumstances. All this stuff is written down, right? And it can be audited against other sources of record, right? Visit logs from your doctor and things like that to make sure that you're not missing anything or getting anything wrong. It also helps support accountability, right? So having all this stuff documented and written down with clear owners and action items means that it's much more likely to get done and get closed out so that things don't hang out there and remain unresolved for a long period of time. And it also provides leverage, which is a fancy way of saying that you're going to make better use of your time. It also helps you to leverage other parts of your care team, in particular some of these AI tools, which we'll talk about a little bit later on. But a huge amount of power in that as well. Okay, so we've talked about a lot of this. Hopefully we're all sold now on why this is important or why this is valuable. So I'll talk about what actually goes into the document. So a few different components here, and it's worth noting that this is something that as you get into it, be creative, right? So if there's things that make sense or you want to organize slightly differently, totally fine. This is meant to give you a starting point. All of this is organized in a Word document that I have linked in the comments here and on my website. So you can grab it there and make a copy, get your own once you have your own copy downloaded. So I've organized this on the left-hand side, starts with the why, the who, and the what. So the why being your objectives, right? So what are you looking to get out of your overall PD journey? The who being your care team, right? So who's involved as part of that journey with you? And then the what being things like your current state. So this is like kind of your symptoms, also things like your medical history, and then some of the key details like your medications, anything else that you happen to be taking at the time. And then the how, which is on the right-hand side, is going to cover a lot of the elements of living with PD. A big part of that being the 5 pillars, which we'll talk about on the following slide. And those will incorporate some aspects of tracking as well. So how you're actually tracking and monitoring your journey. Forward markers, they're the last three bullets here I don't have specific slides for, but just to talk to them briefly. Forward markers is going to be things that that are on your radar, but aren't really relevant right now. As an example, that could be things like advanced treatments and other types of questions that may come up down the road, but again, aren't relevant for your particular stage. Questions for your team, fairly self-explanatory, but this is an important thing that you can incorporate within your care plan. Again, allows visibility on any open items across your whole care team so that all of them can contribute their various perspectives to those open items. Review log, probably the least important piece of this, and I would actually let AI do all the heavy lifting on that. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but that's just kind of a history of the document itself and what you've changed over time. The 5 pillars, I alluded to this earlier, these are really just a bunch of different dimensions of your care as it relates to things that are in your control, largely outside of the specific medical system context, but that are relevant for living well with PD. I've shamelessly leveraged this particular framework from the Parkinson's Power Protocol folks. I think this is a pretty good way to organize this, but you may have a slightly different way that makes sense for you. That, again, that's totally fine. Make this your own, but this gives you a sense of some of the items that you probably want to cover here. Briefly, just to go through these, right, athletic is going to cover that physical training component of your care protocol. The metabolic is going to be things like diet and optimization. Restorative is going to be sleep and recovery, stress regulation stuff. Cognitive, again, fairly self-explanatory, but it's going to involve making sure that you're building those reserves. And then emotional is your mental health management angle through your PD journey as well. So filling it in and updating, now we kind of have a sense of what goes in there. How do we actually go about doing it? I would recommend doing this in bites and chunking it out a little bit. But there's various different ways to do it. Again, I'll drop the breadcrumb here that AI can help accelerate a lot of this stuff. So you can probably do doing all of this in one shot is much easier if you're using AI tools. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in the next section. But if you're building this, an easy way to do this is do version 1 in 20 minutes, fill out some of the basic stuff, right? The objectives, care teams, kind of that stuff that's on the left-hand side, and maybe a brief bit of the 5 pillars, a couple bullet points each, keep it, again, pretty high level. That's actually a pretty good starting point, right? Done beats perfect, and having even that much is going to be more than probably 90+% of people are ever going to have documented as part of their journey, right? The bar is unfortunately low here, but the good news is all of us can be part of raising that bar and delivering better outcomes for all of us with PD. After you've done that, you build out one pillar at a time, right? 3 to 5 key habits across some of those pillars. You could do all 5, but you don't need to do them all at once. That might be a little for most people, but you can kind of do that again in some bite-sized chunks, and over a few days, you'll have that built out. After you have it built, updating it can be pretty lightweight. I would recommend doing a couple minutes after each key visits, right, or other major encounters with members of your care team. And you can do a more full review each quarter, right? You can think about, again, like from an athletic perspective, new season, right, means you kind of take a look at the overall game plan and make any updates that are relevant based on what's on the agenda for the upcoming season. Additionally, for things like major changes, right, so medication changes to your symptoms, a new member of the care team, or a new major question about your care, all those are good prompts to just take a fresh look at the overall document and make sure that all the different pieces, all the different members of the team are activated as they should be in helping to address whatever next stage you're looking at. Right? So now for how to help AI do the heavy lifting. And again, I'll refer, there's more on using AI as part of your care team, in particular, both for the benefits as well as some of the caveats or the things to keep in mind and manage the risk profile associated with this in my AI as part of your care team presentation, which is also on this channel. So refer folks to that for a more in-depth view of that, but just a quick version of how it can apply here. Basically across the entire journey for this, right? From building it in the first place to actually deploying it in real life, AI can help you. So to give some examples of that, it can help you to build version 1 and probably do it a lot more quickly with you and AI working together than you'd be able to do it alone. AI, as it turns out, is great at turning a template and a bunch of unstructured data into something coherent. So you could, the way you would do this is you would give the template and ideally as much context on yourself, whether that be a write-up that you've done, visit notes from your doctor, other things like that. You can even talk to a lot of these chatbots and give it the context it needs, ask it to ask you questions that it needs to fill in any information, and it can help you to draft things much more quickly than you'd probably be able to do it yourself, right? So it can help you build version 1. It's also great at doing things like summarizing a visit and incorporating any of that information into your care plan document. It can help you prep questions. So would really recommend sending any of your questions in addition to your care plan document before you meet with your doctor, ideally a few days before. Doctors typically will do a lot of prep, going through patient charts and all those other things before they have a meeting with that patient. So you giving them that sort of information, including what you want to talk about, allows them to come prepared. And so you don't spend a bunch of time with them looking things up or other stuff like that. They've already done that and they're ready to talk to you about the decisions involved, and it'll be a much better use of your time. AI is also great at decoding a lot of jargon. So again, if you have something maybe in a visit note or elsewhere or in a scientific paper that you want some help interpreting, it's pretty good at doing that. And it's also good at keeping these things current, right? So making updates based on new information and managing that change log that we referred to earlier. That's a feature that pretty admin-y. Most human beings don't really enjoy doing that. I don't enjoy doing that, and I basically let AI just do that the documentation step, and it's pretty darn good at doing that. A few caveats on AI. I feel it's worth mentioning the limitations or the things to be aware of. Obviously, it's not medical advice, right? It hasn't gone to medical school, doesn't have a medical degree. It can't actually change your prescriptions, and even if it could, I would still recommend your human care team members as part of those major decision-making processes. You also want to verify key information, right? Citations, dosage information, that sort of stuff. It is possible for AI to get things wrong, so you want to make sure that you're validating this stuff. Privacy is also a thing. Individuals can and should make their own decisions about that. I will say I personally put my stuff into visit notes and other things into these tools to be able to leverage them for what they're good at and how they can help me out. I use, at the time of recording, I'm using Claude, a paid version of Claude, which is, I think, among the better ones out there in terms of security and general user privacy considerations. But again, do your research and do what makes sense for you. And then, like we mentioned earlier, in terms of the overall mindset here, definitely applies as it relates to using AI or any other member of your care team. You are the owner, right? So AI, it is not the ultimate editor. It can help you, but you should be the ultimate prover and reviewer of anything that it creates, including this care plan document. All right. So with that, enough blabbering for me. Time to get into it. So grab your template off of the links provided here, create your version 1, and then send it to your doctor or other member of your care team before your next visit. And I guarantee you'll have a better use of time coming out of that. Would love to hear from you if this was helpful, or if there's other suggestions for helpful content that we should include or factor into this. Please message me and let me know, and we'll factor that into current or to future iterations of this. Thanks for your time. Good luck out there, and we'll talk soon.